it like
actually.
Well, I just mean, like, I don't know, there's so many expectations of what the event is. You know, people be like, you said the event was gonna happen. So I don't know what that means, but I just mean it carries, like, very obvious event energy. With, you know, there's basically an entire week where the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the world axis is going to occur. And that starts on the 13th to the 20th of Feb. So it's like a week where the energy is just really potent. And then smack dab in the middle of that week is the Chinese New Year and the solar eclipse.
Right.
So I think the energy this year is going to get rolling a lot stronger and a lot sooner than last year. And then it'll kind of be the opposite, where then towards the end of the year, we're going to kind of have to integrate a little bit and slow down. But it's pretty nonstop till August.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this year. And that's why I think it's kind of the new kind of chapter energy, and I'm glad it starts new, like, sooner than last year, because last year just kept like dragging on, and we were waiting for things, but it didn't happen till like halfway through the year. So then it was like the year's basically like already over, and then everything retrograded back. So it was kind of just this waiting game until 2026 to have these things like change and have forward momentum. But I think we will see why this year things have just been so slow the last couple years.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like, you know, numerologists and other people just say, like, you know, the 8 and 9 years are very karmic, a lot of closure, a lot of completion, versus like the 1 year. Or, you know, it's technically, it could be a 10-year too, depending on how you look at it. But I just think, like, those, like, we've had a lot of closure and a lot of completion the last couple years, just to move us forward. And I think, like, you know, people, if you've been aware, you've passed these kind of tests and lessons and had your experiences. But if not, I think that there's a, you know, good chance that people are just going to kind of get swept up in the tsunami wave of energy that's going to happen. And I don't think anyone's going to be left unscathed. I really think that, you know, more people are going to realize that there's always more work to be done than where you're at, kind of thing.
It's funny. I totally agree with that, because when I was like writing the for the magazine last month, like it kept coming to me of, like, you know, for the last at least 3 or 4 years, I think all of us have been feeling this sense of, like, where's the finish line in all of this? Like, you know, when is it all going to happen? Whatever that people are either like the event, Galactics decloaking, the QFS, the this, the that, like, everybody's waiting for something, like, in this, like, grand finale. And, like, the kind of harsh reality that I kept feeling was like, oh, like, we actually haven't started. Like, this was all training, preparation, experience for the actual start to occur. And like she said, I think that's going to be really hard for a lot of people who think that they're done. Like, we've made it, we're done, you know, we're just waiting. We're always waiting for something. We're just waiting for the end of this. And it's like really this kind of sobering reality of, like, oh fuck, this is actually, to me, I keep seeing this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, you know, world axis is like, that's the start point. That's when, like, the race actually begins. This is like, or the Olympics, you know, whatever you think about, it's like people train for 4 years before they go to the Olympics, right? So it's kind of like that. It's like you are going to do years and years and years of training before you actually get to the main event.
Right.
And that's a little unnerving, but I mean, what can we do?
Yeah, I think it's more of it's a marathon, no sprint.
Exactly,
it's a
marathon.
But I think, like, there's just going to, you know, there have been moments where people have been waiting to kind of see some type of, like, justice or change within the system. And I think, like, we are at that point where we will start to see it. And it's not just going to be, yes, there's going to be, like, 3D or physical events that need to happen. Like, for example, I'm not going to let up about, like, the financial system needs to change. You know what I mean? Like, that's a physical aspect. I think there's other things that people aren't anticipating or maybe not thinking about right now. Some people probably are, but like, either way, like, I think that we are going to see, like, a large change, especially with all the water to fire and air. And we haven't had that experience in the lifetime in terms of like the spiritual community is what I'm getting at. So I think that we're going to see these shifts with spirituality and what real spirituality actually is.
Yeah.
And from what I have comprehended just within my own experience in the last 8 to 9 years, this whole cycle we've been in, it's not any, like, spirituality isn't what you think it is. And it's not what most people assume, think it is. And it's really a balance of a few different things put together. I think that there's just been a lot of misconstruction in the spiritual community and social media. You know, I think channelers are a contributing factor, you know, like people, oh, the event's next week, you know what I mean? And then like, you know, like that it doesn't happen. Like there's just so many factors. And I know that everybody watches this, most likely, you know, has some type of spiritual aspect to them. Otherwise you wouldn't have found us. But I just think that with all the fire and air that we're going to see these changes that are going to hit several communities. Like I think health and wellness is another one, you know, that's now $1 billion industry that hasn't been touched since it's like gone up. But just a couple different things. But I really think spirituality needs a revamp because again, it's not what we think it is. And to put it in layman's terms of what it actually is in a very simple, like one sentence line, it's about being human. Yeah. And I think that we get lost in the energetics, in the mundane, in the social media, in the channelers, and in these different things, and these products, and all these different things. We get so lost in it. And I think that, for me, I'm the most excited for that to change. Yeah. Because I think that needs to, I think it's the reason a lot of people have stayed complacent and haven't grown and done hard things in the physical has been because of spirituality not being what it is in its full essence. Yeah,
I would say like with all that water energy, we saw the trend happening over the last like decade, right? Especially with Neptune and Pisces. And the trend was you know, teaching people how to go within, which is relevant, right? Do the inner healing. And then it was like meditation, you know, connecting with your higher self and your guides and all this stuff. Channeling became, you know, nobody knew what the word channeler was a decade ago.
Right. Now it's completely different.
Okay. Now it's like every single person you meet is like, I'm an oracle, I'm a channeler. That's great. I think we needed to tap into our spiritual gifts and all that stuff. You know, a lot of people got into astrology, which was cool. Tarot, like all the things that used to be like fringe kind of became mainstream now. But yeah, it became almost this thing. I was thinking about it of like more and more I've seen quote unquote spiritual people become hermits and introverted, and they'll like put out messages, you know, and put out these things, but they're not engaged in the world. There is zero engagement in the world. And it's because it's like, oh, well, you know, I'm too energetically sensitive now and people are taking my energy. And I've seen so many people on like social media who built up really big followings or communities based on whatever work they were doing, whether that be astrology or energy healing or coaching or whatever that is. And then over time, you'll see those people withdraw and be like, oh, well, I'm not doing sessions anymore. And we all go through that phase because you do get burnt out from it. But the reasoning is because like, oh, I just can no longer give my energy to others. And so, yeah, everyone's become a hermit, complacent. We have, I think, weaponized the idea of going within, you know, to heal yourself and going within to find yourself to the point where we have disconnected entirely from the human experience. Right. Now we should all just sit in our room and meditate at this point.
Yeah, no, I think...
And the Aries era is like the opposite of that.
That's what I'm saying. Of like, I think I've gotten tired.